Hey everyone, welcome to today's Explainer. I'm so incredibly excited you're joining me today because, well, we're going on an epic road trip. But hold on, pause for a second. We aren't jumping into a car, and we definitely aren't hopping on an airplane. Instead, we're traveling thousands of years back in time to the ancient world's superhighway. Now, when you hear the word superhighway today, you're probably thinking of zooming cars, lots of concrete, and traffic, right? Well, today, we're exploring a very different kind of highway, one made of dust, sand, freezing snow, and millions of footprints. It's a journey filled with bravery, hidden treasures, and some absolutely incredible discoveries. So pack your imaginary bags, guys, because we are about to hit the most famous road in human history. Okay, seriously, just stop and think about this for a second. Imagine you need to travel from right here in India straight across the map all the way to Europe. But you're doing it without planes, no fast trains, and absolutely no Google Maps. How in the world would you even know which way to go? Today, if we want to go anywhere, we just type it into a screen, right? And a little voice tells us exactly where to turn. But back then, there were no screens, no paved roads with those helpful green signs. There was really only the sun, the stars, and the stories of other travelers who had walked the exact same path before you. It sounds almost impossible, doesn't it? It was this massive, mysterious world, and yet people actually found a way to connect it. So let's dive into this. The answer to that massive puzzle is something called the Silk Route. Now, it wasn't just one boring straight street like the one outside your house, not at all. It was actually this giant, glowing network of dusty paths and hidden trails that connected the East, places like India and China, all the way over to the West, stretching right into Europe. And the craziest part, this was happening thousands and thousands of years ago. It was kind of like a giant spider web of trails wrapped across the entire continent of Asia. This route was literally the ultimate link between totally different worlds. It let people who had never even seen each other before meet up, trade their stuff, and share their lives. Now, you're probably wondering, wait, why is it called the Silk Route? Like, was the road actually made out of silk? That'd be pretty crazy, right? But no, not quite. It actually gets its name from the absolute most valuable treasure carried along those paths: shiny, beautiful, flowing silk fabric that came all the way from China. See, back in the ancient world, Chinese traders held the big secret to making this amazingly soft cloth. And let me tell you, the rest of the world wanted it really, really badly. It was so precious and so incredibly expensive that they just named the entire superhighway after it. But hey, silk was definitely not the only thing in their luggage. Let's take a little peek inside their ancient backpacks, shall we? Okay. Yes, they had the flowing silk, but they were also carrying these amazing fragrant spices to flavor food, dazzling precious stones that caught the sunlight, and heavy bags of shiny gold coins. And then there's the most amazing item on the list: great ideas. I know, you can't exactly stuff an idea into a backpack, right? But the travelers carried these ideas in their heads. They shared their thoughts, their stories, and their knowledge with every single new person they met along the way. Now think about it. If you were walking around carrying a bag full of gold, sparkling gems, and super expensive silk, you really wouldn't want to walk alone, right? No way. That would be way too dangerous out in the wild. So these traders traveled in something called a caravan. Basically, it's a huge group of people traveling together. Imagine dozens or even hundreds of travelers packing all their heavy goods onto the backs of strong camels and sturdy horses. By sticking together in this massive group, they could protect each other from bandits, help each other out when they got tired, and safely make it across some of the wildest, most rugged places on planet Earth. And trust me, they absolutely needed that help, because this was no quick weekend getaway. First, these caravans had to cross scorching, dangerous deserts. We're talking massive sandstorms that could literally block out the sun. Then they had to climb freezing snowy mountains, where the air was super thin and incredibly cold. And finally, they just had to keep walking for days, then weeks, then months. Sometimes making this single journey all the way across the map could take entire years. Just imagine walking for a whole year straight. The traders, and honestly those poor camels, had to be so incredibly tough to make it to the other side. All right, now for all my young friends watching right here in India, let's put a massive spotlight on our own country. India played a super important role on the Silk Route. Indian traders were actually famous across the whole ancient world for supplying some of the most amazing treasures. Think about spicy black pepper and bright yellow turmeric. Actually, next time you're in the kitchen at home, ask your parents to show you the pepper and turmeric, because thousands of years ago, People on the complete opposite side of the world were trading actual gold just to get a taste of those exact Indian spices. Plus, India sent out beautifully colorful textiles and absolutely stunning handicrafts that basically everyone else in the world wanted to get their hands on. But wait, do you remember that invisible item on our packing list from earlier? Yep, great ideas. These travelers didn't just hand over a bag of spices and walk away. Nope. When these caravans stopped for the night around a crackling campfire, people sat down together. They talked, they shared Indian culture, different religions, and brilliant new knowledge with the rest of the world. Ancient books and scrolls were constantly moving across borders. It was honestly kind of like an ancient version of the internet, except, instead of clicking a button to share a post, you had to literally walk across a giant mountain to tell someone your new idea. And this brilliantly illustrates just how powerful that sharing really was. Just think about this. The great teachings of Buddhism traveled directly from India all the way over to China along this exact same route. Buddhist monks carrying their scrolls and all their wisdom walked those dusty paths right alongside the camels carrying the silk and the pepper. And as they traveled, they met new people, and cultures started blending together in the absolute most beautiful ways. Because of this superhighway, a religion that started right here in India grew and spread to change the lives of people thousands of miles away in China. But as time went on, things began to change in the ancient world. See, while those dusty land routes took months or even whole years to cross, with all those freezing mountains and scorching deserts, people started getting really good at building bigger, better ships. And they realized, hey, we can just sail across the oceans instead. Sailing on ships became way more popular, mostly because it was faster, and honestly, a massive ship could carry a whole lot more heavy cargo than a camel ever could. So, with the rise of these new sea routes, the famous land caravans kind of started to fade away, and the Silk Road slowly lost its top spot as the world's main highway. So, what does this all mean for us today? Well, the Silk Route might be a dusty story from ancient history, but it reminds us of something absolutely crucial. Long, long before we had smartphones or the internet or airplanes, humans still found incredible, brave ways to reach out and connect with one another. We've always had this urge to explore, to trade, and to share our big ideas. So I want to leave you with this thought to chat about with your friends and teachers. If the Silk Route connected the ancient world through brave travelers and sturdy camels, how do you think our world stays connected today? Just think about all the wild and amazing ways we share ideas across the globe right now.